Today we're going to learn a little bit about prepositions. Some of you may have heard the word before, and some of you may not know what it is. So let's start with the basic. Let's start with the definition. What is a preposition? Well, very simply, a preposition tells us how two things are related. In either space, so how they're physically related to each other, or time, or both, depending on how complicated our sentence is. So let's start with what's probably the easiest one to grasp, are prepositions of place. So prepositions of place are anywhere you can go. So we have a wonderful visual here. Shows us some of our prepositions of place. You can put the ball on, or under, or below, or over, or in, or behind, or in front of, or between, or in, or out of, or up, or down, or through, or around. So a great way to remember this is anywhere a mouse can go. If a mouse can go under, that's a preposition. If a mouse can go around, that's a preposition. So let's try and use some of these in a sentence. So, John was across from Susie. Now our preposition here is telling us how John and Susie are related to each other in physical space. So our preposition here is across. We might then have Susie sits next to Sarah. So again, we're learning how Susie and Sarah are related in space to each other. Not necessarily that they're sisters, but in the same physical space, they are next to one another. Or perhaps, I lost the remote behind the sofa. In this case, where did we lose the remote? Well, it's simple. Behind the sofa, or occasionally under the sofa, or between the cushions, all of which include prepositions. Now we can also have prepositions of time. These tell us how things are related to each other, not in physical space, but in time. So we have some fabulous examples here. Now, of course, we are speaking to one another, but later, perhaps we will be having lunch. Before, perhaps we did some work. Until, during, and while are also prepositions of time because they tell us how one event is related to another. So let's try and use some of these in the sentence. So, perhaps we would say, I have chemistry before maths. In this case, we're talking about how chemistry and maths classes are related in time to one another, and our preposition is before. I have to do work during the holidays. While not very fun, does contain a useful preposition, in this case, during. And let's try one more. I think we can do one more. So let's try later. We will go to the movies later. Again, one nice little preposition that lets us know when we're going to the movies in relation to what's going on now. Now, some prepositions can be a little bit tricky. You have to figure out whether they're time prepositions or space prepositions. And two of those tricky little ones are in and on. We can be inside a box, but we can also do things in the morning. We can be on top of a table, hopefully not in class, but we can also be on time. So these are two little tricky ones that we can use both ways. And we know how to use them as both prepositions of place and prepositions of time. Maybe that's a little bit trickier. So if we use them as prepositions of time, we say in the morning, in the afternoon, in the evening, or on Tuesday, on Sunday afternoon. So these are things that perhaps we're not consciously using as prepositions, but we hear them all the time when we speak. Let's try some of these tricky little ones in the sentence. Add a bit more space in. So we might say, the gift is in the box. We will give it to Mum in the morning. So here, we're using in the first sentence as a preposition of space. It's telling us where the gift is in relation to the box. And in the second one, we're using in as a preposition of time. We will give it to Mum in the morning. Hopefully Mum will be very happy. Let's try on. Let's see. The wombat is on the porch, which would be an interesting thing first thing in the morning. But perhaps we could also say, Dad is never on time for my footy games. So in the first sentence, we are using on as a preposition of place. Our wombat is on the porch. We know physically where it is in relation to the porch. And in the second one, we're talking about how Dad is in relation to the footy games. So we're using on as a preposition of time. So I hope you have enjoyed our fabulous introduction to prepositions, and hopefully very soon you will join us for a few more grammar lessons.